A Prime Minister in need of friends. A Prime Minister defiantly rejecting a Brexit delay.
I'd rather be dead in a ditch.
But a troubled week, not getting any easier.
You're right. Oh, that's right. I'm so sorry. Okay, I think that is a signal for me actively to wind up. Okay.
With a general election in the air, Boris Johnson travelled to a Labour and Leave heartland to launch his signature policy, 20,000 extra police officers. But political and domestic difficulties hung in the air after his pro-European brother resigned as a minister with a pointed parting shot. In recent weeks, I've been torn between family loyalty and the national interest. It's an unresolvable tension and time for others to take on my role as MP and minister. Over and out.
Joe doesn't agree with me about the European Union because it's an issue that obviously divides families and divides everybody.
Just over a week ago, Boris Johnson appeared to dominate the political landscape after a roaring debut as Prime Minister. But after a bruising week in Parliament, he is now cornered, unable to impose his will on MPs, with an election the only way out, and that can only be secured with the support of Labour. A deal with Labour had been in the offing. Number 10 would not block a bill outlawing a no-deal Brexit if Jeremy Corbyn agreed to an election on the 15th of October. But Labour is now saying no poll until at least the 19th of October, when a no-deal Brexit can be definitively blocked.
This Prime Minister has shown that he will ride roughshod over norms and conventions, that is clear, and he will stop at nothing to crash our country out to save his own skin and his own party. We're not going to let him do that. We don't trust him on even obeying the law of the land.
Brexiteers believe Jeremy Corbyn is shifting position.
For the last year or so, Jeremy Corbyn is saying we can only decide this with an early general election. And then we have the bizarre appearance of Boris Johnson at the dispatch box saying, you want this early election? October the 15th. And it's Jeremy Corbyn is the one that's going, no, we're not going to play your game. Well, actually, I thought we were playing into the hands of Jeremy Corbyn.
But with Labour having a decisive say over election timing, a Tory grandee expelled from the party this week called on the Prime Minister to adopt a more diplomatic approach.
What he's got to do is actually sit down and consider seriously how the government of a modern country should be conducted in the complicated world of the 21st century. He's got the brain, actually, to start producing some serious approach on Britain's place in the world and our trading relationship with all our important markets. I think he should take a break and settle down and think about it and stop having these battles in Parliament where he's lost his majority.
Under siege, options are running out for Boris Johnson. His chosen battleground of an election can only be reached with the agreement of a hostile Parliament.
Nick Watton will be hearing from Nick a little later. Well, earlier tonight, I spoke to the Conservative MP and keen Brexiteer, Andrea Jenkyns, who had spent the day with Boris Johnson in West Yorkshire, where the PM was making his speech. I asked her what the Prime Minister's reaction was to his brother's resignation.
The Johnson family is like many families up and down the country in that families have different views on Brexit. Boris has different views. He's a Brexiteer. Joe is voted Remain and is an avid Remainer.
But it's a huge blow for Boris Johnson, isn't it? His own brother says that it's impossible, it's compatible. Family loyalty and what he does in government doesn't work anymore. He doesn't agree with his brother, and it's partly apparently to do with the expulsion of these 21 MPs.
Well, you're saying that, but actually I don't believe that Joe's come out and said that, so you're assuming that unless you know different. It's right that, Joe, if he isn't committed to delivering Brexit, that he does resign, just as he resigned from the previous government.
Boris Johnson's been using increasingly intemperate language. Today he said he would rather die in a ditch than go for an extension on Brexit. It's sounding rather desperate.
It's not sounding desperate. You're talking about a Prime Minister who shows passion for once. You know, that if you'd have seen him in Morley High Street today, you know, he exudes this passion, belief in our country, and that's what we've been crying out for in these last 3 years of stalemate, of doom-mongering, of negativity. The Prime Minister is right. The only way to settle this now is an election. But Jeremy Corbyn is chickening out. He's a coward. The fact is, he doesn't want to go to an election, Jeremy Corbyn, because he sees that the polls are not popular for him and the Labour Party.
Without the possibility that they're going to back an election on Monday, is there a possibility, actually, that Boris Johnson might resign on Monday?
No, and why should he? This problem is not Boris Johnson. This problem is Jeremy Corbyn and the Liberal Democrats and the 21 members of my party who are trying to deny that democratic vote by the 17.4 million people.
So what's going to happen?
They are the problem.
What is going to happen? He's not going to get that election on Monday. He doesn't have a majority. What's going to happen?
What is going to happen? Who knows what's going to happen? You know, that's down to what the opposition do, what this cohort of Remainers who's trying to stop Brexit do.
So, yeah, is it entirely to do with the opposition? Actually, now Boris Johnson is powerless.
No, the fact is, Boris is right. We need an election and to settle this once and for all.
Tonight, John Major said the Prime Minister is influenced by a political anarchist who doesn't give a fig for the party.
Oh, you mean John Major, who prorogued Parliament himself? Hypocrite.
He's a hypocrite.
Yes.
He's a hypocrite, but actually he let the MPs back in when they expelled them for good behaviour.
And Boris Johnson's showing leadership at the moment. There's been no discipline in my party for the last 6 to 8 months. And when it's a new government and a new leader, you need to instill discipline, especially when you've got a minority government. Boris Johnson's doing the right thing.
Andrea Jenkyns, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.